Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. Ah? You want to leave the palace? Where do you want to go? Can you caught hold of Yunche's arm and asked nervously. Yunche did not belong to the palace. This was something Kanyu was very clear of, however, she did not expect him to leave so quickly. Yunche laughed comfortingly. I have not decided yet. Maybe I'll leave Blue Wind Empire. However, don't worry, the Divine Phoenix sect will not find out about what happened yesterday, and there is a 99% chance they won't touch me within the short term. My decision to leave is only to take precaution against the slight chance it happens. At the same time, I will be able to prepare for the upcoming 7-nation ranking tournament. Kang Wanha pondered for a moment, then said, Chair, do you really want to participate in the 7-nation ranking tournament? After your conflict with the 13th Prince yesterday, when you arrive in Divine Phoenix Empire's territory, we're afraid you'll sigh. Although you have frightening talent, the Divine Phoenix Empire is really too strong. They are so strong that we can't help but tremble every time we think about it. Within the Divine Phoenix Empire, there are overlords. And they have more than one. I have to go. Yunche replied calmly, after revealing my phoenix flames, clashing against the Divine Phoenix sect is inevitable. Since there is no escape, it's better for me to look for them myself. Kang Wanha was very worried, but this was quickly appeased by Yunche. Looking at him, he slowly said, Chair, we believe you. With your talent and wits, we believe that even if it were Divine Phoenix sect, you would be able to return safely. Amen, I will definitely not disappoint, Father. Yunche thought for a moment and said, Father, do you know what the Primordial Profound Arc is? Primordial Profound Arc, Kang Wanha's expression changed, revealing an obvious yearning. It is a mystical existence. It is shaped like that of a gigantic flying arc, and its size is nearly as big as the entire Blue Wind Imperial City. That's huge! Yunche was amazed. Nobody knows what it actually is, or where it came from. The name Primordial Profound Arc was given by the Divine Phoenix sect. Since a very, very long time ago, it had already begun to appear above the Divine Phoenix capital. It is exceptionally high away from the ground, and that height was only achievable by an overlord. Every time it appears, it would hover at the same place for 6 months. On the last day of the 6 months, the door to the Primordial Profound Arc would open by itself for 24 hours before closing. After that, the Primordial Profound Arc will disappear. The next time it appears would be 300 years later. Every time on the last day before it disappears, many strong profound practitioners would try to board the Profound Arc to search for treasure. However, since the numerous times in the past, it has always ended in failure. Why do people think that the Primordial Profound Arc holds treasure? Yunche asked. Within the Divine Phoenix sect, there is a special branch sect in charge of searching for treasures from all over the world. It has been rumored that every time the Primordial Profound Arc appears, the spirit stones that the branch sect used to search for treasure would give off a bright gold light. Some of the stones would even break apart. Such strange observations undoubtedly prove that there are unimaginable treasures on the Ark. Furthermore, there is nothing on Profound Sky Continent that has been able to make the stones give off a golden light. Therefore, even though the elders that have went onto the Primordial Profound Arc have not received any success in all these years, the Divine Phoenix sect have never given up on searching. Every time the Profound Arc appears, searching the Profound Arc for treasure would be the biggest event for the clan. Kang Wanha paused for a moment before continuing. Feng Shichen mentioned yesterday that the top 3 ranking sects would be able to enter the Primordial Profound Arc with the Divine Phoenix sect. Every time the Primordial Profound Arc appears above the Divine Phoenix capital, the Divine Phoenix sect would never allow people to meddle with it, even if it were people from the sacred grounds. This is the first time they have allowed others to have the chance to explore it with them. Primordial? Profound? Arc? What exactly was it? Jasmine, do you know what is it? It seems to be extremely strange. Yunche said in his mind. Jasmine said indifferently, I have indeed seen a profound arc so large that it's bigger than an imperial city, but a profound arc that repeatedly appears and disappears over time, HMPH, That's the first time I've heard about it before. I am quite interested in this primordial profound arc that this emperor is describing. Yunche. At this point, following two announcements, two men dressed in extravagant clothing walked in with a formal gait. The moment they saw Yunche and Kang Yu, their expression changed visibly. These two people were the Crown Prince Kang Lin and Third Prince Kang Shaw. This son pays respect to Royal Father. We wish Father longevity and good health. Kang Lin and Kang Shaw was careful and respectful. There was no sign of the insolence they had before. Kang Wanho raised his brow and waved them away. Since you have already paid your respects, if there is nothing else, leave. We are discussing matters with you as husband. Yunche's actions the day before left Kang Lin and Kang Shaw with lingering fear. Seeing Yunche this time, their scalps grew numb. They did not dare to stay for long and immediately announced their leave. Yunche looked at them from his peripheral before turning and speaking in a stern manner, "Father, how do you want to deal with the two of them?" Hearing what Yunche said, Kang Yu was shocked. She turned and looked nervously at Kang Wanho's reactions. Kang Wanho was stunned for a moment, then he suddenly became dejected. "Chea, what do you think we should do?" Yunche replied calmly without hesitation, "The most heartless is the imperial household." This phrase is a mockery of, and an attack on the imperial family. However, at the same time, it also represented the helplessness of the family. The vast history has already proven, with bloodshed, that if the emperor does things kindly, the imperial family would unquestionably be in danger. Therefore, even if we cannot bear it sometimes, we still have no choice but to be heartless. Furthermore, it was them who were heartless first. If Father were to just forgive, it would be like telling the imperial household that rebelling and revolting is forgivable. This would tempt more people to bear the intention to revolt. Kang Wanho closed his eyes and said with a face of helplessness, "We know all of this." They had even nearly destroyed the entire imperial household. The attempt to murder me is undoubtedly related to them as well. Chea, if it weren't for you, we would have already died. Yua's fate would have been miserable as well. The imperial family would have become the puppets of the Xiao sect and Burning Heaven clan. We hate that we cannot kill them ourselves. However, they are the only two among my sons who possess the ability to become an emperor. Otherwise, we wouldn't have ignored their internal conflicts all this time. We would be unable to rest at ease if we pass my throne to any of the other 5 princes. And Yua just had to be a girl. On one hand, it is the crime of revolt, on the other, it is the bloodline and the imperial family's future. We truly cannot make a decision. Actually, Father does not need to be so conflicted. This matter is an easy choice. Yunche leaned forward and whispered secretly to Kang Wanho's ears. Kang Wanho was shocked at first. Then, his entire body started to tremble and his eyes revealed extreme excitement. He held onto Yunche and asked agitatedly, "Chea, is what you said really true?" "Of course." Yunche said while beaming, "With my medical skills, such a matter is exceptionally simple. I'll go prescribe some medication later and I assure that Father he can battle for another 300 years. In regards to Yunche's medical abilities, Kang Wanho did not doubt them at all. He was so agitated that his beard was also trembling. Suddenly, he stood up and slammed the table, shouting, "Men! Quickly arrest our unfilial sons, Kang Ling and Kang Shaw, and lock them in the prison. Get the Minister of Justice, Shen Jiemian, to come meet me. We will personally pass down the punishments of our 2 unfilial sons." Outside of the Imperial Hall, Kang Yu could not help but ask, "Husband, what did you tell Father just now? Why did he have such a huge change in attitude?" "This is a secret between men." Yunche laughed cheekily. The main reason Kang Wanho was so worried was because he overindulged in his youth, and had already lost his reproduction ability. After Kang Yu, he did not have any more children. Therefore, if a prince died, he would have one less prince, for he could not impregnate and train up another prince. If the problem of unable to impregnate did not exist, Kang Wanho would not be so conflicted. Given another few years of time, he would easily be able to get another 10 children and concentrate on training and nurturing them to succeed the throne. Yunche. Above him came a gentle and cool female voice. Chu Yueli and Xie Qingyu slowly descended and stood in front of Yun Che and Kang Yu. Kang Yu's eyes met with Xie Qingyu's for a moment before they both shifted their gaze. Xie Qingyu's icy eyes looked to be a cold field of eerie calmness. Kang Yu's expression, however, was far more complicated. After all, Xie Qingyu was Yun Che's official wife whom he had married first. In this case, Kang Yu was considered his second wife. Compared to Xie Qingyu, she naturally felt unusual. She pursed her lips and softly greeted, "Chu Fairy, Xie, Fairy." A strange atmosphere surrounded Kang Yu and Xie Qingyu. Chu Yueli slightly raised her brows and went straight to the point with Yun Che. "Yun Che, other than coming here to attend you and Princess Kang Yu's wedding, the two of us have come here for another matter." "Chu Fairy, please speak freely." Yun Che replied. "Our Grandest Guard Mistress would like to meet you." Yun Che looked up in shock. "Grandest Guard Mistress? Meet me?" "That's right." Chu Yueli stared slightly and said, "The Grandest Guard Mistress already knows about the matter between you and my sister. Naturally, she also knows that you know some Frozen Cloud arts, as well as the fact that you came to Frozen Cloud Asgard to cause trouble previously. However, the reason why she wants to meet you is not to punish you, nor is it to harm you. I can assure you that. If you can spare some time, why not follow us to our Frozen Cloud Asgard?" He had never expected that the Frozen Cloud Asgard's Grand Mistress would want to meet him. He thought for a while before nodding slightly. "All right. Previously, I lost control of myself out of anger and went to cause trouble for Frozen Cloud Asgard. I should go ask for forgiveness from Asgard Mistress Shu. I will go alone in a month's time." Chu Yueli nodded gently. "I hope you keep to your word. Qingyu, let's go." Xie Qingyu's gaze stopped on Yun Che for a while before she turned and floated far away, turning into a snowy silhouette in the sky. The joyous atmosphere enveloping the entire city, which was brought about by the grand marriage of Yun Che and Kang Yu, had yet to be completely dispersed when astonishing news arrived from within the imperial palace. 2 days after the grand marriage of Yun Che and Kang Yu, Kang Wanhe suddenly issued the order to arrest the Crown Prince and the Third Prince, locking them within the maximum security prison. Later, he personally enumerated dozens of crimes, which actually included the shocking crimes of rebellion and patricide. Then, after 3 days, Crown Prince Kang Lin and Third Prince Kang Shaw were publicly beheaded, and all the other members of their camps were also arrested and eliminated without exception. Kang Wanhe had acted in an unparalleled calm manner till now after recovering a few months ago, and seized back the authority of an emperor under Yun Che's influence. However, as soon as Yun Che and Kang Yu got married, he suddenly took drastic actions. He didn't hesitate to use all the means at his disposal to show the determination and mercilessness of an emperor. It seemed as if he had already decided on doing so and was just waiting for the right opportunity. Seeing such an attitude from Kang Wanhe, all the other princes, as well as the influential factions and officials that had originally preferred to side with the Crown Prince and Third Prince, felt themselves in danger as their hearts trembled in fear. Now that Kang Wanhe had Yun Che's support, the deterrent force of his authority was absolutely no less than that of the 3 major sects. They didn't have any guts at all to defy or disobey Kang Wanhe at this point. Fortunately, after beheading the Crown Prince and Third Prince, as well as their group members, Kang Wanhe didn't show any signs of taking action against them. It greatly relieved them to know that they were not in imminent danger, and they didn't lose any time to express their loyalty towards Kang Wanhe by making use of all kinds of ways. They behaved so desperately, as though they wanted to dig open their chests and take out their hearts in order to present them to Kang Wanhe and have him see their devotion towards him filled in them so as to prove their loyalty. The power in Kang Wanhe's grasp had reached to the highest point since his reign as the Emperor of the Blue Wind Empire. It was a height that he had never even dared to think about before. His position as the Emperor had also extremely stabilized compared to the past. Now, even the 3 major sects would no longer dare to look down on his dignity as the Emperor. Kang Wanhe was very clear that it was only because of Yun Che's favor that he was able to enjoy all these things. He was extremely grateful to Yun Che, and extremely respectful to Xiao Lai. In Xiao Lai's presence he would act without showing any majesty of an emperor, and treated him like a brother on an equal footing. As for the newlyweds, Yun Che and Kang Yu, They had no interest in what was going on in the imperial palace, and spent there every day with their bodies glued to each other. Days passed by without anyone realizing it, and the 1-month period within which Yunche had agreed to go to the frozen cloud Asgard was very quickly approaching its end. Before leaving for frozen cloud Asgard, Yunche hadn't forgotten to deal with a certain matter of significance. This matter was indeed the very reason due to which he was actually seen as a fiend who kills others with total disregard for human life by ordinary people. Blue Wind Imperial City, Medical Saint Hall. As the medicine hall opened by the generally acknowledged first genius doctor of the Blue Wind Empire, countless people from all parts of the Blue Wind Empire would come every day to seek medical treatment, and numerous people among them would bring great amounts of profound coins and treasures with them to request Ji Chohong to open the profound veins of the genius disciples of their sects and families. Due to his medical skill and influence, Ji Chohong had amassed so much property that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that his wealth could rival that of an empire. However, during the last few days, the entrance of the Medical Saint Hall had remained closed and it never opened even once. In the past, the reason behind the Medical Saint Hall remaining closed for a long duration was perhaps because of Ji Chohong leaving the place for some time to wander about somewhere else, but this time the reason was not the same as before. These days Ji Chohong had stayed inside the medical hall the whole time. Ever since he heard the news about the sudden arrest, then beheading of the Crown Prince and Third Prince, his mind had been in a greatly disordered state. His mind was completely occupied by fear, as he spent every day in worry and anxiousness. A couple of months ago, he had vaguely realized that Yunche's treatment had cured Kang Wanhe's illness. He was obviously very clear about the illness Kang Wanhe was suffering from. Since Yunche was able to successfully treat Kang Wanhe, he must have naturally understood the reason behind the illness. In that case, he would certainly be the first person to be suspected. No, wrong. He would be the one and only suspect. If it was some other person he was confronting, Ji Chohong was well aware that with his influence, he didn't have to fear any sort of retaliation. But Yunche was a madman who didn't hesitate to directly exterminate the Burning Heaven clan and cruelly beat up a prince of the Divine Phoenix sect. So long as Yunche felt like killing a doctor like him, he would definitely do so without any scruples. These days, he stayed inside the medicine hall, spending his days praying for his well-being and doing his utmost to ponder some way to survive through the current predicament. He had even thought of running away to another empire. However, before he could get the chance to act on it, the Grim Reaper had already descended behind him. Great genius Dr. Gu, the area outside the entrance of the medicine hall is as crowded as a marketplace, but here you are, leisurely and comfortably, passing your time. The legendary #1 genius doctor of the Blue Wind Empire is spending his days as pleasurably as an immortal. Ji Chohong startled when a voice suddenly rang out from behind him, and he turned around as fast as lightning. When he saw Yunche, his whole body shivered as his heart contorted. He said stammeringly, You. So it's Yun. Lord Yun. I'm truly moved, and extremely honored, to have Lord Yun personally visit my humble abode. There were 4 personal disciples at Ji Chohong's side, and none of them detected Yunche's arrival at this place. Looking at Yunche who had suddenly appeared like a ghost, all of them were trembling with fear. They stooped and didn't even dare to let out a breath. As his successor disciples, they knew what Ji Chohong had done to Kang Wanhe very clearly. They also spent the past days in the same manner as Ji Chohong, in a constant state of anxiety. Yunche approached them with a sneer on his face. Moved? Honored? Then why do I see nothing but fear written all over your face? Are you by chance afraid of me? Man, that's really strange. We didn't have any sort of connection between us till now, and have hardly seen each other's faces, so just why would you be afraid of me? No, Ji Chohong uttered in fear. Within this extremely short time of several breaths, his body was already perspiring profusely, and even beads of sweat were dripping from his fingertips. Lord Yun is the only son-in-law of the Emperor of Blue Wind Empire, and is also publicly known as Blue Wind's #1. It is naturally a matter of utmost glory for a mere doctor like me to be able to meet Lord Yun. Oh? Doctor? You say that you're a doctor? I just happen to have a question regarding medical treatment. I don't know whether I could consult about it with you, Yun-Che said as he narrowed his eyes. There was cold light lurking in the depths of his eyes. Ji Chiohong used to call himself a medical saint. He naturally had no idea that this self-proclaimed title made Yun-Che feel extremely unpleasant, because his master who had taught him the art of healing was called the medical saint of the Azure Cloud continent. For this trash of a doctor with a malicious heart to have the same title as his most respected master was completely sullying the two words, medical saint. Ji Chiohong was already out of his wits, and could only nod his head in response. It's too much of an honor to me that you want to seek my consultation. Lord Yun, please tell me what you want to know. This lowly one will certainly do his best to give a satisfactory answer. You don't need to be so nervous. I just have a very small problem that I wish to consult about. I believe that a doctor of your level can easily come up with the solution. Yun-Che moved a corner of his mouth upwards, his eyes nefarious and strange. There's someone close to me who has a venomous parasite called the soul-devouring life-binding parasite within his body. I don't know whether great genius Dr. Ji is aware of some way to save him. To Ji Chiohong, the 5 words, soul-devouring life-binding parasite, sounded like a grim reaper pressuring him to die, and caused his whole body to quiver violently. His legs went limp and he almost kneeled on the floor. He said in an extremely trembling voice, "No. I don't know. This lowly one only possesses insignificant medical skill, and has never heard of anything like soul-devouring life-binding parasite. I ask Lord Yun to pardon my ignorance." "Oh? You don't know?" Yun-Che laughed grimly. "After wasting over 100 years, you don't even know about something as small as the soul-devouring life-binding parasite, yet you still dare to call yourself Blue Wind's #1 genius doctor? So you're just another one of those people who gained fame by deceiving the public." Huh. If it was someone else doing such a thing, I wouldn't have cared about it. However, if a doctor who's supposed to do good to society by saving people's lives doesn't possess decent medical skill, the will to treat people, and medical ethics, let alone saving people, he would instead do harm to them. Furthermore, it won't be just 1 or 2 persons, but a large number of people who would be harmed by such deception. Since you're already trash that can do nothing but harm people, there's no need for you to stay in this world any longer. Ji Chiohong's eyes widened. He was just trying to say something when a red light suddenly flashed before his eyes. Reap! A streak of phoenix flame glittered past and instantly penetrated Ji Chiohong's chest, leaving behind a large hole on it. Ji Chiohong's facial expression froze and his body fell down on the floor with a thud sound. Blood started to flow out and very quickly gathered under his body. Master! Ji Chiohong's 4 disciples were so frightened that their faces completely turned pale. Although they subconsciously let out their voices in panic, none of them had the courage to go over to Ji Chiohong's body, and they just remained crouched at the corner of a wall. When Yun-Che's gaze shifted to them, their entire bodies shuddered, and their teeth clattered. 2 of them even urinated on the spot. Yun-Che's means were indeed as ferocious and ruthless as a devil. Even before Ji Chiohong, who was the Blue Wind's #1 genius doctor, who possessed such a huge influence, he had first spoken differently for a while before actually killing him when he felt like it. He acted so casually, as if he was merely trampling an ant to death. "You 4 idiots must be Ji Chiohong's successor disciples, right? Say, do you want to live or die?" Yun-Che said with an expressionless face. As soon as the 4 heard that they still had the hope to live through their current predicament, all of them immediately kneeled down, kowtowing again and again. "We want to live, we truly want to live. So long as Lord Yun agrees to spare our life, we'll willingly work extremely hard for our entire life." Yun-Che coldly said. Ji Chiohong had conspired to murder His Majesty. He was guilty of a crime for which even death cannot atone. As for you, I can still give you the chance to live. You guys have always followed Ji Chiohong, and should be very clear about the many disgraceful and evil deeds he had done over these years using his medical skill and reputation. I'll give you 3 days' time. Within these 3 days, properly gather ironclad proofs related to Ji Chiohong plotting to murder His Majesty and his all other disgraceful deeds, and let everyone under the heaven know about them. so that all people could know that he absolutely did not deserve the title of medical saint. Afterwards, make sure to save people with the art of healing you've learned. That's how you're going to atone for the sin you've committed by following Gu Chohong. Keep in mind to not use your medical skills for evil ever again, otherwise, you will definitely die by my hands. The four people were pleased beyond belief when they heard Yun Che's words. They hurriedly promised to do as he said while shedding tears of gratitude. 3 days later, the information about Gu Chohong colluding with the Crown Prince and Third Prince, and conspiring to murder His Majesty using the soul-devouring life-binding parasite spread widely in the entire city. The four successor disciples of Gu Chohong revealed a lot of ironclad evidences about all kinds of disgraceful deeds he did during the time he practiced medicine by making use of his medical skill. All of his evil deeds were listed by the four of them, which surprisingly added up to a grand total of more than 1,000, shocking the entire Blue Wind Imperial City. For a while, the medical saint whose name once shook the Blue Wind was condemned in speech and writing by all the people. The people and forces he was on friendly terms with in the normal times made it publicly clear in succession that they no longer any relation with him whatsoever, reasoning being that they feel indignant at the injustice he had done. At this time, Yun Che had already bid his farewell to Kang Yu and Xiao Lingxi, and was flying towards the snowy region of extreme ice on the Snow Phoenix Beast. Jasmine, I feel that my current cultivation has apparently reached a bottleneck. Yun Che, who was lying on the back of the Snow Phoenix Beast with his eyes closed, suddenly brought up a topic that had been bothering him for past some time. Bottleneck? Your advancement had always been without a hitch until now. What bottleneck are you talking about? Jasmine said in reply. What I'm trying to say is that it has been a very long time, but I've yet to find a way to upgrade my strength with the same extreme rate as before. Yun Che slowly said, during the more than 1 year time when I was under Heavenly Sword Villa's sword management terrace, my profound power cultivation had increased at an explosive rate. But now, let alone the fact that I've almost finished drinking and eating all of the dragon blood and flesh, their ability to promote my strength is already extremely limited at my current level. There is still 4 months' time before the 7-nation ranking tournament. After going to the Divine Phoenix Empire, it's not just the ranking tournament that I'd have to face. Right now, I'm in dire need of a way or opportunity that could successfully allow me to achieve a breakthrough again. Opportunity? HMPH. One should advance in order, step by step. The way you forcefully upgraded your strength by absorbing the power from the blood and flesh of the Emperor Profound Dragon over a long period of time before, was actually extremely dangerous. If you didn't have the protection of the Great Way of Buddha, many hidden damages would have been left behind in your body due to that forced power amplification. Your current cultivation speed without the help of any external thing is already quite fast. But my current strength is practically worthless in the face of the Divine Phoenix sect. Yun Che said in a somewhat depressed manner, looks like I'll have to go all out to increase my cultivation during these next 4 months. Returning to the point, it seems you, my master, haven't taught me anything for a long time. I don't even know what kind of profound art you cultivate. As you're so powerful, the arts and skills you're practicing must be incomparably powerful. I mean, why don't you try teaching me some of them? How childish. Jasmine said in a voice that was devoid of any emotion, among the abilities I possess, Star God's Broken Shadow is the only one that you can practice with your current cultivation level. Your current foundation and level is too insufficient to practice anything else. If you were to forcefully practice any of my profound arts or killing moves, it'll be harmful to your life. I'm currently practicing the evil gods, as well as the rage gods' profound arts at the same time, and don't feel any problem supporting them. Could it be that your profound arts are even more powerful than the evil god art and the Great Way of Buddha? Yun Che widened his eyes, and said with some astonishment. They are completely different. Jasmine coldly said, if you truly want to practice my profound arts, wait for your profound strength to reach the later stages of the sovereign profound realm. After reconstructing my body, I'll also be able to consider bestowing you with a drop of heaven slaughter blood, which will allow you to practice my profound arts. So, sovereign profound, and its late stage at that. Yun Che was startled to the extent that it caused him to sit up on his butt. And what is that heaven slaughter blood thing? You don't need to know. Black Fiend Empire, land of enormity. Dense sinister aura and grey fog lingered around this whole place, and the sound of wind rang out incessantly, which bore similarity to the cry of a ghost or the howl of a devil. At such a horrifying place, Fen Juechen, who should have been dead several tens of times by now, had somehow survived and managed to come here. He employed every bit of power in his limbs to climb upwards, and with an incomparably formidable willpower and obsessiveness, he forcefully supported his life that should have already dried up a long time ago. Finally, he climbed up to the extremity of this place. There was a huge jade coffin before his eyes. The jade coffin was semi-transparent and there was a barely visible black fog moving around within it. So you have at last arrived. This king has waited a very long time for you. The grey fog inside the jade coffin suddenly started to sway, and an eerie voice rang out in Fen Juechen's mind. Who are you? This king is the very person you're looking for. And you are precisely the one this king has been waiting for. Use the key in your hand to open this shackle that has sealed my soul. This king shall bestow upon you supreme power as your reward. On what basis do you expect me to believe you? This king has no means to testify his words, but the current you could only choose to believe in this king. If you don't obtain this king's power right here and now, then you'll die very soon. This king and you share the same kind of disposition. The infinite hatred and obsessiveness inside your soul, and this king's hatred and obsessiveness will combine together, making you countless times stronger than your current self. With the power of this king, you'd be able to get revenge against anyone in this world you have a blood feud with. This king is just a leftover damaged soul now, so if you want to take revenge, it's necessary to draw support from your body. If this king gets released, there is nothing but infinite benefits for you. Otherwise, if you go on like this, you could only desperately wait to meet your death. Fen Juechen's hand extended forward as it trembled, and the pitch-black key fell on the soul-sealing coffin. In the blink of an eye, mist sprang up from every part of the soul-sealing coffin, and rays of light flashed for a brief moment from a formation, before disappearing without a trace. Whoosh! Eerie wind started to blow from all directions as the soul-sealing coffin suddenly opened up. The soul sealed inside the coffin immediately escaped out of it, and laughed out wildly in extreme pleasure. Then, it straightaway rushed towards Fen Juechen, mercilessly piercing his soul and entering inside it. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. A millennium, it has already been a millennium. This king has finally obtained freedom. Looks like the heavens have at long last showed some compassion, and gave this king the opportunity to get revenge against the ones this king harbors bloody hatred for. Ha 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 ha. Boy, this king is grateful to you for allowing this king to regain freedom. To repay your kindness, this king shall replace your soul and become the new owner of this dilapidated body of yours. It would certainly be the greatest favor you could hope to receive in return. Ha 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 ha. You. Fen Juechen felt as if a myriad of steel needles were fiercely pricking inside his soul, and his complexion turned pale in an instant. Blood flowing out of his eyes, ears, nostrils, and mouth, and he issued an extremely painful shout from his mouth. So you want to swallow my soul? Arth. It truly amazes this king that you can still talk about me swallowing your soul in such a weak condition. You don't have to worry. After swallowing your soul, this king will look into your memories and kill the person you want to kill the most in this world so as to respond to the bitter hatred in your heart. Would that be enough to satisfy you? Now, obediently let your soul become my soul's offering. Ah! Fen Juechen let out a heartbreaking howl, and his whole body spasmed and twisted frantically. Every part of his body was completely drenched with sweat as though he was hit by torrential rain. No matter how painful his body felt, he could still completely endure it without even making a little sound. But the pain he felt from his mind ripping apart was countless times more cruel and horrifying than tearing him apart limb from limb. He felt as if innumerable steel pins and bayonets were pricking and stabbing his soul in an attempt to cut it, which made his consciousness fall towards a bottomless abyss in the midst of extreme pain. If his soul was destroyed and swallowed, leading to him losing all of his consciousness, then his body would turn into a shell without any consciousness of its own. If that were to happen, he would have no means left to ever take revenge, and he would also become someone else's puppet for eternity. Compared to killing him or slicing his body thousands of times, this sort of end to his life was even more unacceptable to him. Fen Juechen could accept death, and he could even accept dying without leaving a complete corpse behind. But he definitely couldn't allow himself to fall to the level of a mere puppet. I've suffered untold hardships to arrive at this place. Because I wanted to seek the thing that could grant me the power to take revenge. Becoming a puppet was never an option. Arth. Fen Juechen ferociously opened his eyes wide. The originally slackened glow of his eyes crazily condensed and released such a hateful light that could even make a devil shudder in fear. All of his willpower and conviction released along with the yell he let out with his utmost might. TSK, I didn't think you'd still try to struggle in vain. Ha 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 ha, this is truly and extremely funny. Just how can a small and weak soul like yours, which is no different from a completely insignificant and in my eyes, possibly escape from HM? WH? What? This is impossible. What did you do? This is impossible. This is impossible. Fen Juechen's extremely weak soul that was on the verge of being destroyed and swallowed, suddenly burst out an inconceivably formidable resistance. Following Fen Juechen's hoarse shout, the power of this resistance unceasingly increased. Not only did it prevent Fen Juechen's soul from being swallowed by the dark soul, it contrarily encircled and confined the dark soul bit by bit, and even began to swallow it. Impossible. This is impossible. How can a mere boy at Spirit Profound Realm possibly have such a formidable willpower? The black soul was unable to wildly laugh any longer, his voice now carried panic and fear. It was as if he suddenly fell from paradise to the abyss of hell. I, Fen Juechen, have been defeated, trampled, and humiliated, but I can still, somehow endure them, because there will come a day, when I'll make the one responsible pay countless times more for it. However, no one should even think about making my body into something as extremely humiliating as a puppet. Don't even think about it. The black soul let out a blood-curdling scream. His powerful soul was actually completely confined inside Fen Juechen's soul and was instead being swallowed by it. If his soul were to be swallowed, his existence would completely disappear from the world, and then his memories, and the power in his soul would all belong to Fen Juechen. He shouted loudly in panic, and even painfully pleaded to Fen Juechen, let off this king. Stop this moment. This king will let you have his strongest power. This king can't afford to die now. The black soul's voice suddenly stopped for a moment and then it abruptly began to tremble in excitement. Huanga. Huanga. You are Huanga. Fen Juechen? Huanga, it's truly Huanga. It was as if the black soul had forgotten the pain of being swallowed. It let out an extremely joyful and sobbing voice. Huanga. I am king of the eternal night royal family, your very own biological father. Fen Juechen's entire body was drenched with sweat. He sneered and gritted his teeth as he said, you stupid and devious pitiful residual soul, in order to survive through your current predicament, you are going as far as uttering such an absurd and ridiculous thing, Huanga, I'm truly your father. When our eternal night royal family was exterminated by those scoundrels, you were also murdered bloodily by them at that time. Then, your mother confined a wisp of your soul after your death, and using her own life, she unleashed eternal night's taboo technique, so that you could reincarnate after a millennium with half of your blood vessels and soul. Enough. Your death is near at hand, and you're still going on with your ridiculous nonsense. Fen Juechen firmly clenched his teeth. I'll have you shut your mouth, forever. The tenaciousness of Fen Juechen's willpower far exceeded the imagination of the dark soul. His residual soul gradually lost even the last of its struggling power, and he also just gave up on struggling altogether. This is also fine. When you obtain my memories and my power confined inside the soul, you'll naturally become clear about everything. Huanga, you are the prince of my eternal night royal family, the last of my eternal night royal clan's lineage and hope. I wish you live a good life, seize back my clan's heavenly sin divine sword, re-establish the eternal night royal clan, and take revenge for your mother, for all of your clan members, and for your very own self. You must take revenge. Never forget to take revenge. The Black Soul's voice resounded in Fen Juechen's mind for a very long time and then disappeared into oblivion. Subsequently, not only did this soul give up on struggling, it even took the initiative to integrate every bit of his memories and special soul power into Fen Juechen's soul. The memories accumulated over the long span of 1,000 years gushed towards Fen Juechen's soul like tidewater, and his expression gradually became sluggish. Finally, he kneeled down on the ground like a lifeless person, and didn't make any sort of movement for a very long time. His face was filled with the stains of tears that were overflowing from his eyes. With the help of the Snow Phoenix beast, it took Yunche a very short time to reach Frozen Cloud Asgard compared to his previous trip. After flying through the boundless snowfield, the location of the Frozen Cloud Asgard quickly appeared in his line of sight. Looking at the Frozen Cloud Asgard he was getting closer to at a very fast rate, Yunche couldn't help but think of Chu Yu-chan. In these last few months, he still hadn't obtained any information related to her, and it was the same in Xie Yuanba's case. With his current influence, his name was already resounding through every corner of the Blue Wind Empire. As Chu Yu-chan had their child, and Xie Yuanba had left due to the sorrow of Yunche's death, they should have immediately come look for him after finding out the information that he was still alive. Could it be that you guys are no longer in the Blue Wind Empire? Yunche said to himself somewhat absent-mindedly. Frozen Cloud Asgard was still shut off from the outside world, however, it was natural that no one would stop Yunche from entering the palace this time. Even before he landed at the entrance, Frozen Cloud Asgard had already sensed his arrival and Chu Yueli was waiting in front of the main entrance. So you've come. Chu Yueli's face looked as cold as frost, and she spoke in a voice that was completely devoid of emotions. Junior Yunche greets Chu Fairy. I eventually managed to keep the appointment. Yunche stepped forward as he said, Chu Fairy personally welcoming me makes this junior feel extremely terrified, letting Qing Yu come is enough. Chu Yueli didn't show any response towards Yunche's words, and indifferently said, Asgard Mistress is already aware that you've arrived. Follow me. Yunche originally wanted to make some fun of this fairy of frozen glass. He would have felt satisfied as long as he could at least see her angry look, but the result he got was quite dull. He crooked his mouth and followed Chu Yueli inside. Even during the time when the palace was not shut off from the outside world, Frozen Cloud Asgard would have extremely few visitors, so the female disciples of Frozen Cloud Asgard mostly didn't get that many opportunities to come in contact with a man. Therefore, as Yunche followed Chu Yueli inside the Frozen Cloud Asgard, along with the additional effect of his name, Yunche, it immediately caused a lot of Frozen Cloud Asgard's disciples to gather around and watch him with attention. Their gazes were filled with intense curiosity towards this young man who was the nominal husband of their young Asgard mistress, as well as the one who let Chu Yu-chan break her vow of abstinence. When Yunche saw Gong Yuxian, he discovered that Xie Qingyu was present right beside her. He went closer to them and said, Junior Yunche greets the mistress of Frozen Cloud Asgard. This junior had recklessly intruded Frozen Cloud Asgard 4 months ago, and showed disrespect towards senior at that time. I hope that senior will pardon my wrongdoings. Gong Yuxian felt surprised at first, then faintly smiled. I never expected that the person who can destroy the Burning Heaven clan and dare to trample a prince of the Divine Phoenix Empire under his foot would lower his head and acknowledge his mistake. Yunche, you've really made me view you in a new light. There is no need to apologize. You're losing control of yourself that day due to the anxiousness in your heart and forcefully rushing inside the Frozen Cloud Asgard is understandable, hence, it could be pardoned. Furthermore, it does seem that you are indeed concerned about Yu-chan. Moreover, there's also some truth in the words you spoke to me that day. Let's not bring up these things for now. Yunche, my Asgard's Grand Asgard mistress wants to see you. Follow me. Qing Yu, you should also come along with us. There were several Frozen Cloud secret grounds within Frozen Cloud Asgard's lands. Its mysterious Grand Asgard mistress silently cultivated all year round in one of those secret grounds. Yunche and Xie Qingyu followed Gong Yuxian all the way down, and finally arrived in front of a room of ice. Senior Master, Yunche has arrived. Gong Yuxian said respectfully before the ice room's entrance. Right after, a woman's voice that appeared slightly elderly came from within. "Come in." As the voice fell, the ice room's gate that was tightly closed slowly opened. Countless ice crystals dispersed out from within the ice room, and didn't fall for a long time. In the center of the ice room, a woman whose expression was as calm as water, with hair already half white, sat upright on a blue-colored ice jade. The ice jade slowly emitted an ice-cold fog, shrouding her entire body within this hazy fog of ice. When Gong Yuxian's group of 3 walked in, her closed eyes opened, radiating a gentle yet far-reaching gaze. And this gaze directly fell onto Yunche's body. She was the previous generation Asgard mistress of Frozen Cloud Asgard, and also the current Grand Asgard mistress, Feng Qianhui. Disciple Gong Yuxian greets Senior Master. Disciple Xie Qingyu greets Grand Asgard mistress. The elderly woman raised her hand, and spoke lightly, "No need for formalities, have a seat." "So, you are Yunche." The person up ahead was shockingly another pinnacle-level being of Blue Wind's profound practitioning world. From her body, Yunche even felt a sense of pressure almost not inferior to Ling Qianni. He stepped forward, and spoke as he gave a salutation, "Junior Yunche, greets Senior." Feng Qianhui's gaze sized Yunche up from head to toe, and slowly nodded. Suddenly, the expression in her eyes changed. Her arm abruptly swung out as several tens of ice crystals condensed in the air, flying toward Yunche's chest. Toward Feng Qianhui striking out, Yunche didn't display any surprise. His body remained in the same position, his chest slightly stuck out, yet he didn't even construct up defensive profound energy, and directly used his body to receive it. Bang 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 bang. All the ice crystals solidly smashed onto Yunche's body, yet directly shattered into pieces the moment they touched Yunche's body, and dissipated. There wasn't even the slightest hint of injury on his body.